So guys, thanks for joining today's session, and today is the fourth day. And today we are going to cover another adapter called SOAP adapter, which falls under the category of technology adapter. And using that SOAP adapter, we will look at how to create SOAP APIs and how to consume external SOAP APIs is if you want to consume it. Yesterday, we have use the REST adapter. I have explained the web services, what is REST API, SOAP API. We have seen how to use REST adapter in order to create our own REST APIs, as well as how to consume the external REST APIs. So today we are going to look at the SOAP adapter, and then how to create SOAP APIs using that SOAP adapter, and how to consume the external SOAP APIs. So guys, if you have any question from the last session, you can ask, please. Okay. Now, similar to the REST adapter, we have the SOAP adapter, and this SOAP adapter can be used to consume your external SOAP API. The SOAP API you want to consume, it can be on the internet or it can be on premise. So if it is on premise, you have to use the connectivity agent for that. But if you want to consume the public APIs, the WSDL, you don't require the connectivity agent. If you want to, and using that SOAP adapter, you can create your own SOAP APIs. And in order to create that SOAP APIs, you must have the WSDL in place. WSDL file. WSDL is nothing. It is the WSDL stands for Web Service Description Language, which contains the operation of the API, the request type, the response type, the port, and the location of your WSDL. So there are two types of WSDL exist. One is the concrete WSDL, and the second is abstract WSDL. What is concrete and abstract? So you need to understand that. So when you want to expose your SOAP API as a SOAP adapter, you must have the abstract WSDL in place. However, in order to call the external SOAP API, you should have the concrete. Now, what is the difference between concrete and then abstract? So here you see, this is my abstract WSDL, and this WSDL can be created using the different IDs like JDeveloper, Eclipse, and other tools which is available, which is used to develop the APIs. Now the abstract WSDL is wherein you define the schema of your web service.
There is a background noise.
Yeah. Please be mute yourself, everyone. Thank you. Okay, so in the abstract WSDL, I hope you can see my screen. In the abstract WSDL, where you define the schema, schema is nothing. It is just like the request type and the response type. And here you see, so schema is nothing. It is the XSD schema, XML schema actually. And here you see one element where I have given the name as a request, which contains one element ID of an integer type. Similarly, I have another element in the same schema that is called response, which contains another 5 elements, like the name of a string type, username of a string type, email string type, phone string type, website, and string type. Okay. And then here I have defined the fault element as well, wherein I have the error and then error details and the name. It is to capture the errors. Just hold on, maybe someone is not able to what is it, meeting ID, this one, meeting ID, and then passcode. So here I have a third element with name fault, wherein I have defined other three elements, the error code, error, and then error details. And here you see the schema is completed here. Now, then we have the port type. A port type defines the port wherein you will see the operation of your API, which is the name is user get OP, and then input message, and then output message, and then fault. So this input, output, and then fault is the standard element of your XML. And here I have defined one port called user request port, user response port, and then user service port. So this is one of the port type which contains the operation name, input message, output message, and then port. And here you see user request port. I have this user request port, and in this user request port I have one element called part which is associated with my request. So this one, right? So the request contains the ID element. Similarly, I have the user response port. Here is the user response port I have used. Here I am using the response element of my XSD, this one. Similarly, I have the user service fault I have used in this port type, wherein I have used the fault element of my XSD, this one. So here I have three elements. One is the schema, right? The second is the port type, means the operation, and third is the message. So this is called your abstract WSDL, wherein you define three elements of the WSDL: the schema, the port, and then message part. So this is called your abstract WSDL, which means here you have not defined the functionality. It is just like a request, response, and then operation. And what concrete WSDL is? A concrete WSDL is having the implementation, plus it will show you the end point of your WSDL, where your WSDL is located, actually, where your WSDL is deployed, which means the WSDL will have the implementation, means what are the implementation is there in the, what are the coding you have done in your SOAP APIs. And once your SOAP API is completed, you will have the WSDL of that, and that calls your concrete WSDL. So that is the complete difference between your concrete and an abstract WSDL. Now, when you use the SOAP adapter to create your own SOAP APIs, you must have the abstract WSDL in place. So you have to create this abstract WSDL if you want to expose your own SOAP APIs. So these abstract WSDL can be created via JDeveloper. I have one blog written on that. I will share it. You can follow that same. Now, I will use this create button in order to create my SOAP adapter. Just search a SOAP and then select SOAP and then select. Now here I'll say my SOAP connection. Identifier. Now you tell me I want to create my SOAP API. So which type of role should I select here?
Trigger.
Correct. It will be trigger because it will be inbound to OIC, and then click on a create button. Now here in this SOAP connection, you need to upload the WSDL file, the abstract WSDL. So here you will use this upload button and then choose file. And now I will I have this user.WSDL and then open. User.WSDL, I have selected it here. I will upload this WSDL in the Google Drive. You can download it and you can use it for your POC upload. And then here we have the security related stuff. I have four type of security, and mostly we use the basic authentication, username, and then OAuth. So here the basic authentication is like we simply pass the username and then password in the authorization header. However, username password token is totally different from the basic authentication, wherein you pass the username and then password in the security header of the WSDL. So here I am going to use the basic authentication. You don't need to supply your username password. The username password will be of your OIC user itself. Just save it and then test it and then simply click on a test button. Now here you see connection, my SOAP connection was tested successfully, and again save it. And here you see the configured. Now my SOAP connection is ready. Now what I want to create a integration here based on the app driven orchestration, wherein I will consume my SOAP adapter. And in this, you see, WSDL, I have one request element wherein I have the ID. I will pass the ID in my SOAP API, and then I will call another REST API, this API, which gives me the data corresponding to a user. So I want to extract the name, username, and then email. So here in this user.WSDL, I have defined the name, username, email, phone, and then website. So I will extract the same from the external API. So sometimes this use case, which I am going to execute it here, it's a real time. So sometimes what happens is your customer is having the external REST API, which another consumer cannot consume it. So they may say, I have the capability to call the SOAP API. So what you can do, you can take in a help of the OIC. You can wrap up this REST API and then create another SOAP API. So I am going to create a wrapper here on this REST API, which will expose the SOAP API, which means REST to SOAP. So I will create and use this app driven and then select. I will say REST to SOAP and then create. Now I want to create a SOAP API. So on the trigger point, which adapter should I draw? Any idea, anyone?
SOAP 1.
SOAP connection? Absolutely, the SOAP which we have created. Now here I will say my SOAP and then next. And here you see selected port type user service port. It will be taken automatically. It will be taken automatically from your WSDL file. Here you see user service port. And from that user service port, operation, and then user request port, user response port. Here you can see. If in single WSDL file, you can have multiple port type, and in a single port type, you can have multiple operations also. If you will have the multiple port type in single WSDL file, then you will see the drop down here. But I have select single one, so everything has been selected from the WSDL file. Click next, next, and then finish. Save. Now my SOAP connection is configured. Now you tell me I want to call this REST API. So what should I do?
We should create a integration for REST.
Why so?
Invoke REST endpoint.
So what we do actually when I want to call the external API, I showcased it yesterday.
We have already a connection for REST endpoint.
Yes.
So we can use that endpoint and create integration.
And what is that
Invoke
connection name? And then connection name is consume JSON API. And here you see the benefit of creating the connection using the base URL is you can consume or you can use the same connection in order to call the different API hosted on the same server. So I will drag and drop here. Now here I'll say call user API. And now you tell me what endpoint relative resource URI I should put it here.
Users.
Which one? This one? Yes.
Yes,
Select
users.
users. And also I need to pass this value dynamically. It can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, right? So that is called your path parameter. So the path parameter is the part of the REST endpoint, which means your dynamic endpoint. So that is called your path parameter. So if you want to create the path parameter, so what you need to do, you need to put a slash here, and then in the curly braces, you can give any name. Let's say user ID. It can be anything. It can be user ID too. So this user ID will become the input parameter as a path parameter. I will show you. So this API is the get API. I will select get. And when you create the path parameter, this option will be selected automatically. Now configure this endpoint to receive the response. Next. And now here you see the template parameter. It is called template parameter also. Here you see this has been added here. Click next. And now JSON sample, and here you can take this as sample only because I am calling the external endpoint. Inline, and here you can enter. Okay. Next, and then finish. Now what should I do next?
Mapping.
Which mapper I should use? This one or this one?
First one, like request map.
Yes, call user API. And what should I map here? I should map the WSDL ID, right? This ID. So here you see the source side. Let it open. Here you see my SOAP request SOAP. So this is the ID request parameter. And in the target, you see call user API and the template parameters. Expand it, and here you see the user ID. Now you can map this ID to this user ID. Right? So whatever ID you will pass in your SOAP API, it will be passed to your REST request. Validate and then close your mapper. Right? So request has been mapped. Now I need to map this one. So now tell me which one I should expand here and what I should map into my SOAP API response.
Caller response request. Sorry,
Huh?
response, like the second option.
This one.
Yep.
And then response wrapper. And here you see these are the response which is coming from this API. So this structure will be populated basis on the JSON you have given in your REST. So this will be populated from there only, right? Now here I want to map name to name, username to username, email to email, and then address to, I don't need address, I need phone to phone, and then website to website. Validate and then close. Right? Here is one error. So what should I do? I should enable the tracking and I will use the ID. Why ID is there here? From where it is coming?
From the request.
Yes, it is coming from this SOAP. This is one. Save, and then close. Now the integration is configured, activate it, and then enable tracing, and then include payload, and then activate your integration. Fine. Now here you see, if you want to see the visual, click here. Now here you will see the concrete visual, because here we have the visual location. So your visual location is loaded at this particular endpoint. That is called your concrete visual, because it has the implementation. So you cannot test the visual from here. You have to use any SOAP client to test it. Either it can be SOAP UI, it can be a boomerang of your Chrome extension. If you don't have the SOAP API, you can simply add this boomerang extension in your Chrome, like add boomerang extension to Chrome, add boomerang SOAP and REST client. Here I have the remove from Chrome because it is already added. You will see add to Chrome option. Once you click on it, you will see such icon here. And once you click here, you will see this screen. This boomerang is a client which can be used to call the SOAP APIs as well as the REST APIs. So I want to call the SOAP. So I will click on add a service. And here, this is my visual endpoint. You copy this and then paste it here. And then load. So when you load this visual, the service name will come automatically, and then click on add. Here you see, when you load this visual, from this visual, the operation will be fetched automatically. If you have multiple operation will be visible. So I have only single operation. You can find it here too. User get OPUC. From binding, it is coming from the binding. So binding is the element of your concrete visual. Right? It's added. Now click here, right click here and click on a new request. When you do this, the request will be there. And here you see the ID. You can pass any ID first. And first, before you test this API, you have to add the authentication here as a basic authentication. Username and then password. So let me just enter the username password. I'll stop sharing for a moment. Okay, and here I will enter the password, right? Now go back to your XML and click on a send button. Here you see the response, the name, username, email, phone, and then website. If you want to test it one more time, click on this request. You can say for here you can see the another data of related to the user for. So this is how you can create SOAP API in the OIC. If you go here in the monitoring tab, you will see two requests here. Sorry, monitoring, integration, integrations. You can see all the integrations which you have activated, but it is showing two only. It is showing the integration messages of a last 1 hour. If you wanted to see the messages of a last 2 days, apply, and here you see this has been filtered out. So here in this integrations, you will see the grouping integration wise. Now, if you want to track an individual message, click on this. You will go to the tracking, and here you see ID 1 and then ID 4. You can go to the view activity stream and you can view the complete payload here, timelines, and you see the instance ID. Any question, anyone on this?
I'm good, Deepak, this side. Can you hear me, Ankur?
I can.
Yeah, my question is this SOAP and REST API, it's totally new to me. I never worked on that.
Can you please bit
So I'll
louder?
appreciate what I'm saying actually. So this SOAP and REST API is new to me. So I have no idea. If you
Okay.
just show me some in Oracle Fusion or ERP side,
Yes.
that will be easy for me to digest, to be honest.
No problem. So here, let's say HCM worker API. Okay. So you will see there are different REST APIs related to the HCM. Similarly, there will be another API related to your another SaaS application like the CRM application or the HCM application. For example, you want to get the worker data from your HCM. So Oracle HCM Cloud provide lot of REST API which you can use to connect to your Oracle HCM system. So here you can see all the groupings here, and let's suppose I want to use the workers API, let's say workers. So here, so let's say I want to fetch all the workers data, and so this is the endpoint. And how it works is actually, so this is your relative URI. So your organization may have a different host. My organization may have a different host of a HCM. So let's suppose my organization is having example.com. So how this API will be used? You need to use this get. This is the get verb. Okay. You need to use this API something like this, and it will give the workers data. If your host is XYZ, you have to append simply XYZ in this URL, and then worker data will be fetched. Now I will show you one real-time example. I already have this in the where it is in my Postman. Okay, let me just open my Postman and will show you. Let me know if you can see my Postman. Oh, sorry, Postman. Yes, Postman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here you see. So this is the HCM REST API. Okay, to get all the workers. So here I have added the basic authentication using this basic authentication, and here I have added the username password. So this is not the correct one actually. I have added my one. This is test.user7 and then my password. Okay, and then click on a send button. Oh. Okay, just allow me a minute. Let me just get the correct username password. But Deepak, now you got an idea how it works is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just get that. Just hold down, please. Okay, looks like some issues with the credential, but no worries. So once you will hit this API, you will get all the worker related data here. Similarly, you are able to create your own REST API. You are able to consume the SOAP REST APIs from any external party. like we have used this API.
Uh,
So API is nothing, it is just to communicate with the applications. And in OIC, it's very easy to create your own REST API. You should have a little understanding how REST API works, but I have also described yesterday. Right, Deepak?
Yes, Ankur. Thank you.
Ankur, Vibhuti this side.
Yeah.
I have I have a question. Like the example which you showed just some time back, like in that like the domain name we need to use in the connection for the REST, and the relative path that you showed in that Oracle document, that we need to use in the integration that we are creating. But there
Yes,
we need to
yes.
provide
It is,
relative
yes,
path.
absolutely. It is very similar to that, right? So this is your, let's consider this is your HCM host. Okay. And this you have to use in while creating the REST connection. And then let's suppose this slash user is your REST, similar to this one, which you use when you configure this REST in your integration. Make sense?
Yes, Ankur.
Fine. Now let's proceed further. And now, second example, I wanted to show you how to consume the SOAP APIs. So I have one public SOAP API, this one. I will share the same with you also, okay, or the WhatsApp. You can take it from there. Let me just do it right away. Okay. Fine. So here we have, similar to the REST API, we have the SOAP APIs available on the internet, which you can consume. So here we have this number API. Click on this number, and here number $2. Okay, let's copy this and then paste it here. Hold on, maybe number here. Example request. Why it is not opening? Data access. Number 2 words. Current location. Oh, is it like, hold on. Let me see if I have something. I don't know why it is not allowing me to open. Temperature.
You can use the country's translation that I used some days back. It was
Oh, okay,
working.
maybe temp convert, right? Okay, maybe we can use the same. Happen. So send anyway. Which API you are talking about?
Country's translation.
This one.
Yes.
Let me see. Okay. ISO code like this. Currency not. Any ISO code of the currency? Let me see. Currency ISO code. Okay, this is something like this. Oh, that will be INR. Yeah, fine, great. So we can try to use the same, okay? So if you put like this, Vistal, right? So this is the Vistal file, and here you will have the multiple options. So I can share the same, you can try to consume at your end too. So let's go ahead and then use this. Okay, so this is one of the APIs available over the internet, which provide a lot of operations, and this is your concrete wisdom. You can say this is accessible on this particular endpoint. And here you will have an operation like language name, like the language, list of language by code, list of language by name. There are different operations which you can use. Now, in order to consume any concrete visual, what you need to do, you have to click on a create button and let's say solve. And let's say country SOAP connection. And which role should I select here?
Invoke.
Invoke and then create. Here I can provide the visual URL. And when you create the SOAP connection using the invoke, you will have different options. Okay, like the visual URL, the TLS version we see. If you want to suppress the insertion time stamp in the request, you can suppress it, yes or no. Okay. And basically we use the security state stuff. You can use the basic authentication APIs, username, password token, or the none. So this API is the open API. We don't need to pass any security related stuff. So I will use the security policy as the no security policy. This agent group will come into the picture if that API which you are trying to consume is the private. So I have to configure the agent here. Let's click on this test, and then save. Fine. My connection is configured. Now what I want to convert this SOAP into the REST. So let's again create a new integration using the app driven and then select. And here I will say REST to SOAP. Sorry, SOAP to REST. and then now I want to create the REST API. So which adapter should I drop it here?
SOAP one.
Huh?
Rest.
Rest,
Rest
right?
one. Rest.
Rest.
Yes, REST, because I want to create the REST API. Here I will say get currency. Okay, and then next. I can give anything here, let's say currency, and I need to provide the ISO code. It will be the get API. So I will add a parameter here and then I will configure the response too. Next, I will add one request parameter, click on a plus, and here I will say ISO code. And then data type will be string. Next, I want the response in the JSON, select JSON and then inline. Here I will say currency. Okay. Next, and then finish. Now, which adapter I should use to call my API? That the SOAP API actually.
So
Which SOAP? Now tell me which one I should drop. REST or SOAP?
so
This is the country SOAP connection which we have created and drop it here. Right? Call currency API and next. Now here what will happen? You see selected service is the country service and we have a different pods. We have the this pod and then SOAP. You can use either one. I will use this SOAP 12 and all the operations which are there will be visible here. You can see the list of operations. Which one I should use? Country ISO code, right? I was using the same now, right?
Yes.
this is coming from the concrete Visual.
Yes,
That you
this
should-
is coming from here. Yes, correct. So this is coming from here. You can see, I will show you the country ISO code. You can see here. Country ISO code. You can see this is the no, not this one. The operation. You see the operation name, country ISO code. Next, and then next, and then finish. Now, what should I do? I need to map the ISO code. Open this mapping mapper, and then from query parameter under that body, and then country ISO code. This one. Maybe we are not using the correct API, right? Which one we tried actually? Currency name. We have not currency name. We need to update it, currency name. This one. Update. Okay, let's suppose when you update the adapter, the request adapter will be removed. You can drag and drop the ad hoc connection here. Okay, and here I will use this get this one, and here query parameter ISO code. Here you see as currency ISO code. Validate and then close. Right, and here I will map the response. and call currency API response SOAP, expand it, currency name result, okay, and it will be my in this. Validate and then fine. Let's enable the tracking here. Fine. Now I need to test this REST API. So test. Let's say USD dollars. Okay. Let's say INR rupee. This is how you can consume the SOAP API and convert into the REST. It is just an example. You can use that SOAP API to transfer this data to somewhere as well. Any question on this, please? I hope it's clear to everyone.
Ankur, Vibhuti this side, I have a question. Like, we always need to have a trigger point to like initiate,
Yes, in the
the
app driven,
integration.
yes. In the app driven, you must have the trigger point.
Okay. For scheduled, like it is timely basis as per the schedule defined.
Yes, but for the schedule also, you will have the REST endpoint of it. You can trigger it on an ad hoc basis via that REST endpoint.
Okay.
But yes, it mainly triggered by the time frame which you add in the schedule integration.
Okay.
Okay, so can we proceed further now? So this is all about the SOAP adapter. Now another adapter, since we have a time, now another adapter which I wanted to show you, the FTP adapter. What FTP adapter is? FTP is one of the important adapter which is used to interact with your FTP or the SFTP, which is accessible over the internet or the behind the firewall. In earlier OIC, FTP adapter was only capable to call the FTP or SFTPs which were accessible over the internet. But Oracle has refined their adapter, and now using that FTP adapter, you can call your privately accessible FTPs as well. FTP, using that FTP adapter, you can perform various operations. Operations like, if you have a FTP server and from that FTP server you want to read the file, you have the read operation which can be used to read the file. Similarly, you have the write operation which is used to write the file on the FTP or SFTP. You have the delete file operation which can be used to delete the file from your FTP. You have the list file operation which will be used to list the files. You have another operation called download file, which is very, very important operation. I will describe it later. The FTP adapter can be used to create encrypted files as well using the PGP algorithm. PGP stands for pretty good privacy. It is one of the algorithms available which can be used to encrypt the file. Similarly, if you have one file encrypted on the FTP server and you want to read the content, FTP adapter can also be used to decrypt the file. FTP adapter has one more feature. It can be used to sign your file digitally. Also, it can be used to verify your digitally signed file as well. FTP adapter got one limitation. That is called service limit. Like, you cannot read the file from the FTP or SFTP which is more than 10 MB. Similarly, you cannot write file onto your FTP of the more than 10 MB at a time. This service limit is not only for the FTP. This service limit is applied for each and every adapter we have in the integration cloud, whether it's a REST, SOAP, ERP, FTP, or the file, any adapter. Which means if you are using the REST adapter wherein you are trying to post some data via the REST API, if you post some payload and the payload is reaching more than 10 MB in size, then your integration will get failed. So you have to reduce the size and it should be within the limit of 10 MB. So this question is frequently asked in the interview: what is the service limit of the adapters, or what is the service limit in your integration cloud? So you can say that 10 MB is the limit of each and every adapter. In order to now in integration cloud, we have one dedicated adapter called FTP, which can be used to create a connection with your FTP or SFTPs. In order to use this connection, you must have the FTP host name, username, or the password. So now I will show you how to create the FTP server, and FTP server we will create it from the public Oracle cloud only. So let me just log in here and then I will show you. Next. Now here, Oracle integration, Oracle cloud allows you to create the compute instances, and these compute instances can be treated as a FTP or the SFTP servers. Okay. Now, in order to create any compute instance, you must have the privileges. So go to the cloud dashboard, click on a compute and then instances, and click on a create instance. And the compute instance which you create here, it is available free forever. You can use it lifetime free. You don't need to pay anything for this compute instance. In order to create this compute instance, so this is your Linux. Here you see the Linux. If you want to create the Windows, you can click on edit. You can change the shape from here, platform. Okay, here you see the Windows as well. You can use the Windows. So I'm going to create the compute instance, and you can give any name here. And if you go down, you have to choose the SSH keys here. So you cannot create the compute instance without SSH key. Maybe it's not okay. If you don't provide SSH keys, you will not be able to connect to the instance using SSH. So in order to use this compute instance, and if you want to access it via the SSH, you must have the SSH key pair. It is nothing, it is the public and private key. which can be generated from the Puttygen, which is a simple software which you can download it. So I will show you how to generate the SSH keys. What I will do, I'll stop sharing my screen, and Lakshmi, I hope you there. Yeah, Lakshmi, can you please share your screen, and I will show you how to create public and then private key. Lakshmi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm sharing.
Yeah.
But I don't have FTP. I mean, WinSCP is not downloaded in my system.
No problem, no problem, no problem. I will let you know. So if you can give me the access. How to ask the.
I think you need to request, right?
Let me just ask the access, huh? How to ask the access here? I cannot see the access option. Can you provide me the access option, please?
And I'm trying, even I'm not able to.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. I will ask. May ask to start video. Why it is not there? Strange. But anyways, just open a tab. Open a tab and write it here. Download Puttygen. Puttygen. Gen. Z here.
GEN.
G for grapes. Yeah. Fine. Now click on the first link, not this one. Yeah, first link, yes. Yeah, that's fine. Go little down. Come down. No, not this one. Come down. Come down. Yeah. Yeah. Download Puttygen. Come down.
In the left hand, we can see that the download Puttygen on Windows.
Yeah. Can you click on this Puttygen on Windows, the left hand side? Yeah. Yeah. Click on this. Yeah. Close. Come down. No, come down. Come down. Come down. Come down. Come down. Come down. Just hold on. Yeah, come down. Hold on. Come up. Yeah, here you see puttygen.exe 64-bit. Just click on it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And then no. It will be downloaded automatically. Hold on. Yes, it's downloaded. Now open that exe file. And then now here, this is the putty key generator, which will be used to generate the public and private key. Okay, click on this generate button. And here you see the space, just hover it on a free space, just keep hovering it on the space, the blank space just below that line. Yeah, here. Yeah, hover it, hover. Keep hovering on. Yeah, fine. Now here you see the public key on the about text box starts from SSH SRA. This has been generated, right? Now this you need to load in your server. Can you open the cloud here? the cloud.oracle.com, and can you log in so that I can show you? Cloud.oracle.com. Yeah. Can you log in here with your credentials? That's fine. Yeah, fine. Now click on the hamburger menu top left. Click on a compute and then instances. Yes, fine. Click on a create instance. Yeah. And here you can give any name. Let's say my dev instance. Just go up. Yes. Dev instance. Yes. Come down. Fine. Come down. And here you see the option paste public keys. No, paste public keys. Third option. Yes. And go to Puttygen now and then paste this. Yeah, fine. Fine. Come down and click on a create button. Yeah. Now your instance will be start creating. Go to the Puttygen again. Puttygen. Yeah. Here you see two option key phrase and then confirm passphrase. Now you have to download the private key. You can give any passphrase here which will secure your private key. You can enter any password here and then same password in the custom confirm. Right. And here you see save private key. Just click here and then you can give any name. Let's say private key. Yes, save. Now you have saved in your document and you can close it. Fine. Now you have the private key and this private key will be used to log in into your machine. And here you see it is in the provisioning state. Once your instance will be provisioned successfully, you will see the public IP will be allocated here. You see the public IP address? No, it's private. Yes, it is public. Now you can use this public IP address to connect to this machine via Putty as well as WinSCP. Can you download Putty as well? Can you go to the previous tab of this? Yes. Go back. Go back. No, go back. Yeah. And here you see, go up little bit. Go up. Yeah. Fine. Here you see putty.exe. Just little down. Yeah. Click on this putty.exe. Yes, correct. It will be downloaded. Now I will show you how to connect your machine via Putty. Just click on it and run. Now just specify the host name here, the public IP. Copy. Click on a copy. It will be copied. Yeah. And now here, hold on. Here you see the port is 22 by default. Okay. This is your SFTP port. Now you have, so this machine which you have created will be authenticated via the private key. So you have to upload the private key in the Putty. How to upload it? Now here you see at the left hand side, you see the SSH, the second option from the last. Just expand it, expand this, you see the plus. Yeah. And click on a OAuth. Click on a OAuth. Sorry, auth only, auth. AUTH. And here you see the browse button. Click on a browse and upload this private key which you have downloaded. Yes. And then open it. Click on a open. Now here, click on a yes. Yes. Now connection has been created. Now you have to enter the name. So whenever you create the compute instance, the login name will be OPC, Oracle Public Cloud. OPC. Enter OPC.
All small letters.
OPC in small. Yes, enter. And if you have given the private key password, you have to enter the private key password. Enter it, please, whatever you have given while generating the private key. Yes. Now here the connection has been created. Click on a PWD, enter. Now this is your current directory of your user /home/OPC. Similarly, you can connect this instance via WinSCP. Can you download the WinSCP, please? Why I am not doing this, since I am using the Mac, and on the Mac I cannot use WinSCP and then Putty. It's on a different thing. So since you need to use the most of the guys are using the Windows, so I am taking the Windows machine help. Come down. Yeah, click on a download. Up, the green button. Yes. Now you can follow the same steps in order to connect your machine via WinSCP and Putty. Just install it quickly. It will take 2 minutes only. Install, yeah, fine. Click on this. Accept. Next. Install. Yeah. Now, can you see it will be launched, I hope, automatically. You can close this, and can you open the WinSCP maybe? Yeah. And this is the WinSCP which will be used to create a connection. Now click on enter and click on advance, the drop down, the next button to the save, yes, and click on advanced. You will see the authentication, the third option under the SSH, the second option, authentication, yeah, and then browse file. No, click on you see the three dots, you see three dots, yeah. Okay. And you can enter the username here, OPC, and then private key password. So this is how you create the connection via WinSCP and then Putty. Yes. Password. Now this is the UI which you can use to transfer the file from your desktop to the FTP server. I hope it is clear how to create a connection, guys. Any question, anyone, you can ask, please.
So this FTP server Ankur is created through OIC, correct?
Huh?
This FTP server, this is created through the OIC only. But if we want to connect with some EBS Unix box, then how can we do that?
So here what I have done, I have created one compute instance. If you already have the FTP server, you can connect it via the WinSCP or the Putty in the same fashion as we seen here. This clear, Megha?
Okay, so we need to give that user ID password, and in that case, that SSH key is not required.
So no. It totally depends how they have created, how they have secured their FTP server. Might be they have created username and then password, or maybe they have used the SSH keys. It totally depends on the FTP provider, how they secure. But yes, modern way is to secure the FTP is via the private keys only. Lakshmi Priya, you can stop sharing your screen now.
Okay, Ankur, thank you. Understood.
Thank you. Fine. Okay, now our FTP is ready. I will cancel this simply and we'll see here. You see, our FTP is ready and the public IP is this one. You can also create this instance. Now, go to the connections, and now in order to create our FTP connection, click on a create button and search for the FTP adapter. Select this FTP adapter and then select it. You can give any name here, FTP connection. And here the identifier and then role, trigger and invoke. In the FTP adapter, there's a one limitation. You can use this FTP at the invoke side only. You cannot use this FTP adapter at the trigger point, which means if you create the app driven and if you want to drop the FTP connection at the trigger point, you cannot do this, which means FTP adapter cannot be used to pull the files from your FTP. You have to, if you want such functionality, you have to create the schedule integration and then use this FTP adapter on the invoke. So it is always invoke, but you can select trigger and invoke and then click on the create button. Here you have to provide the FTP server host address, the FTP server port, and then other stuff. So I will use mine one. Let me just take mine one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I am using my, this is my FTP server host. So similarly, I have created one Linux instance on the Oracle Cloud. If the FTP is SFTP, so the port will be 22. Or it can be a custom port. You have to ask from the vendor. It can be 23 as well, but it is 22. If it is SFTP, you have to select SFTP. Passive IP as a host address. If it is yes, then you have to select yes.
Not visible,
Okay.
not in sharing, I believe.
I'm sorry. Can you see now? Can you see the screen now?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, sorry. Fine. So here I have entered the FTP server host address, the FTP server port as a 22. If it is SFTP, you have to choose yes, otherwise it can be unselected. Passive IP as a host address. If it is passive IP, then you have to select yes, but this information will be provided by the FTP provider. FTP SSL type, implicit or explicit, I don't have much idea about it. The SSL certificate, if this FTP connection is secured and they require the SSL handshake, then vendor will provide the SSL certificate and then you have to upload the SSL certificate here. You can provide the FTP server host, whether it's a Unix, Windows, all are optional. You don't need to provide any details here. Now come down. So this is very important, the security part. So in the security policy, you have a 3 different policy. One is the FTP server access policy, wherein you need to enter username and then password. If you use second one, you will see username and then you have to upload the private key here and then password. If you use the multi-level is both, means you have to enter username password plus you have to upload the private key. And from here, which authentication mechanism you want to use first, the password one or the public key? I will use the FTP public key authentication and my username is OPC. And here I will upload the private key. Let me just let's stop. Guys, allow me a minute. Yeah. So here I have uploaded my private key and then upload. And here you have to enter the password here. Enter the password. Okay, fine. Now, if you simply save this connection and then click on a test. So if everything is fine, then your connection will be tested. Here you see your connection has been tested successfully and it is ready to use. But before I do this, I will show you other thing here as well. Here you see the PGP public key. So this PGP public key will be used if you want to leverage this FTP connection in order to secure your file. Means you want to create the encrypted file using the PGP. So in order to create the PGP encrypted file, you have to use the PGP public key. Similarly, PGP private key. So PGP private keys are used to decrypt the file which is encrypted by the PGP public key. So PGP public key and private key will always be in the combination. You can create the PGP file from here. Create PGP keys. So you can use this online website to generate the sample PGP private key and PGP public key. So let me just, you can provide anything here, a@g.com, and here PGP key password. So you have to provide the PGP private key password here. And then click on this generate PGP keys. Here you see the private key and the public key has been generated. Now what I will do, I will copy both the keys and will save it with the extension .asc. So let me just copy this and let me just open my text edit. New. Okay, resume sharing. Okay, so this is my, so here I have copied the public key and let me just save this public key. Okay, so here I will say PGP public .asc. The extension will be .asc and then save. Okay, similarly, I will copy my private key and I will create another file here. Okay, and then paste this and then save it.
Sorry to interrupt. We are not able to see this screen.
Which screen you have not seen?
This part, I think it is not the complete screen is coming.
What you can see now?
Only a part of your screen, Ankur.
Huh?
Only a part of the text pad.
Oh, hold on. Can you see now?
Yes, yes.
So what
Yes,
I have
yes.
done, I have copied the private key and then saved as with the extension .asc. Similarly, for this, the PGP public key also, I have taken another text notepad and then saved is as PGP public.asc. That's what I did only. Okay. Now I will go to the Chrome again and then we'll upload both the files. PGP public key, upload the file here. So PGP public key.asc, right? Upload. And then as Sky algorithm, you can say yes. And then cipher, you can say AS256, which is one of the strongest algorithm to encrypt the file. If you want to decrypt the file, you have to upload the PGP private key also. Right? And then you have to enter the password and make sure you will enter the correct password. So PGP public key will be used to encrypt the file and it will be used to decrypt the file. Oh, the extension is .txt. Similarly, RTF. Okay. Let me just change the extension. Otherwise, the connection will not be created successfully. Return. This happen actually. Okay, anyways, I will do this later. I don't need to use this as of now. Okay. Hope you can see the FTP connection screen now.
Yes.
Here you see the TXT extension has been added. I am using Mac and I don't know how to change this, but I will do this later. So I will deleting it. But yes, you have to.
While saving the file, you just give in double quotes.
Oh, in the double quotes. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. I will do this later. Actually, I just bought this Mac couple of days back. There are some issues. I am using this Mac first time, but that's fine. Okay, I will use this later once we will try to encrypt and decrypt the file, right? And similarly, you have this PGP sign public key and PGP sign private key. If you want to verify your message payload, which is digitally signed, then you have to upload the PGP sign public key. And if you want to sign the payload, then you have to upload the private key and then private key password. And then agent group is to configure, is to secure, is to connect your FTP, which is accessible behind the firewall. Now test it. Test. Fine. Now my connection has been tested. Click on a save. Fine. Now my FTP connection is ready and I can use that FTP adapter in order to read and write the files. So let's proceed further. Guys, any question on this piece? This is very important to understand how to create the FTP connection and what are the things you should have in hand before you create the FTP connection.
Ankur, like one question.
Tejeshwari. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Tejas. Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, like when we saw the Putty and WinSCP, there we get the default path, right? So that path where basically we are giving in the FTP adapter when we are creating, like for example, /home, but no need.
Can you repeat
The
your
location, I mean, two questions. One is FT, Putty or WinSCP when you showed a configuration. By default, we will get one path in the Unix, right? In
Correct,
the Unix
correct.
path. That path where we are going to give or mention here in the FTP adapter.
No.
While configuration or
Right.
creating the.
Right. So when you create the FTP connection, you have to provide the FTP related details here only. You don't need to provide any directory details. So directory details you have to give in your integration.
So while creating a connection, just host name will suffice. Username,
Host name, yes, host name, username, password, port.
Oh.
Because the directory can be different integration to integration,
And,
so you cannot provide into the FTP connection.
Yeah, another question, what basically, usually this will be SFTP location will be not in the network. I mean, yes, you were mentioning about the topic agent, right? So real time, basically my SFTP location from there, basically I have to pull the file and read and then write it to the database.
Okay.
So then time it will be FTP adapter as well as my database adapter, both, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. That answers my question.
Okay. Any other question, anyone?
Yeah, Ankur, one question, like on the public digitally signed one, right? Do we need to generate other PGP public and private key for that?
Or
for the digitally signed one, right? The last option.
Yes, that is totally different keys.
Okay.
That is totally different keys. This is not this public key and private key which we create here. That will be the here you see PGP signed public key. These PGP signed and PGP signed private key will be different than this keys.
Is there any other mechanism to do that?
Yeah, I have to check that. I have never did that, but yes, there will be for sure.
Okay, thanks, Ankur.
Okay.
Now, this is required when if we are sending anything says sort of SSN number in the file, then we need to create this way.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. When this is required means
the PGP file. Mega, the PGP file you are talking about?
Yes, correct. Means when do we do these encryptions means?
So, okay. So when you transfer the file from, let's suppose you have the Oracle Cloud, and from the Oracle Cloud, you need to fetch some data and you need to send this data to your third party. While you transact this data from Oracle Cloud to FTP, it may not be a secured one. So your security team may ask you, before you send this file, you encrypt that file. If somehow your transaction got compromised, the hacker will not be able to see your data because it is encrypted. And in order to decrypt that, they must have the private key file of that PGP public key, from which you have encrypted that. So it is for the security purpose only. Make sense?
Yes, okay. So at this, okay, fine.
Now what I am going to do, I am going to use this FTP connection in order to read the file from the FTP, in order to write the file and other stuff. So let's see how to do this. So what I'm going to do.
Ankur, Bibhuti, sorry to interrupt. I have a question on this FTP integration. Let's say like we have a business case, like we have to establish a B2B connection with a bank. So let's say they do not use that PGP architecture of public and private key. They use different key structure. So is there any way like we can connect, or we are bound to use that PGP?
Yeah, so in OIC we have only one mechanism to encrypt the file, which is PGP. And most of the organization are using the PGP only because this is one of the strongest policy to encrypt.
Okay, so there is no alternative apart from PGP.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what I am going to do, I am going to create a REST API, the multi-verb REST API, which will perform different operations. So create a app-driven orchestration and then select, and here I will say FTP operations. Identifier and then create. So I want to create a REST API here. So what I'm going to do, I am going to use this create REST API connection, and here I'll say FTP operations. Okay. And now what I want to leverage this REST adapter to create a different verb, different resources. Means one is to post the data on the FTP, one is to fetch the data from FTP, one is to delete the data, one is to count the number of files. Okay. So let's use this option now. Select to configure multi-resource or verbs. When you select this, you have this option to give the operation name. Let's say create file. Okay. And here I will say file. And since I want to create the file, I want to post the data. So I will use this post thing now. And here I will configure a request payload as well as I will configure this endpoint to receive the response. Click on the next button and I will select the JSON sample here and I will say inline. And here I will say multiple data, let's say first name, last name, age, qualification, email. So I am taking 5 and that will be in the array. I'll say these will be the employees array. Let's leave it. Okay. Okay. I will copy the same and will paste into one of my test edit. And then okay. Right. And then next, and in the response, I will select the JSON sample. This is the response one. And here I will say status. Okay. Next. Now you will be on the operations. My first operation has been created wherein I have the file as a resource, HTTP method as a post, and then edit, delete. If you want to edit this, you can simply click on edit and then next, it will take you on the same screen, request and then response. If you don't want, you unselect it. And if you want to create one or more operation, you select it here and then again next. You will be again on the resource configuration. You can say read file. Okay. And again, I will use the same verb file. And here in the template parameter, I will pass the file name so that I can read the particular file. And that will be the get. And I want to read the file. So I will use this configure this endpoint to receive the response because I want to read the content of the file. Next. And here you see the file name has been added here. Next. And then JSON sample, and here I will say inline, and then I will read the response in the same structure. Okay. Next. Now my second operation has been created, which has the same resource /file/file. But here I am adding the file name as a template parameter. I want to add one more I will say delete file. And similarly file, and here I will say file name. Okay. And here I will use the verb as a delete. And I will configure the response here. Next. Sometimes it creates some problem when you try to click on a next, it will not take you to the next screen. So you have to click on a back and then next. Now you are on the next screen, next. And now you say JSON and then count. Sorry, you can say status. Fine. Next. My third operation has been added. Now I will add another operation. Next. And here I'll say count 5. And here I'll say /file/count. Okay. Get, and here I will say configure this endpoint to receive the response. Next. And here I'll say JSON sample inline, and I will say response will be total files. And that will be the number, so I will not put the double quote. Let's say 1. Okay. Next. Now my 4 operation has been added. 1 is post, 2 is get, and the another is delete operation. Click next, and then you can see the summary of each and every operation, and then done. Now here, click on a reset. So when you create the REST API with multi-verb REST API using the multi-verb feature, you will see the different branches here automatically. So if you have 4 operations configured in the REST API, you will see the 4 branches. If you have 5, you will see the 5 branches. So the branches will be based on the name of the operation you have defined, like create, count, read, and then delete file. First, I want to create a file. So here I want to create a file on my FTP adapter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a plus, and I will use my FTP connection. In order to interact with your FTP, you have to select the FTP connection. Here I'll say create a file. Click next. So this is for B2B. I'm not using that. Next. And here, when you click on the next, you will see all the operations provided by the FTP adapter. One as a read a file. So read a file operation is to read the file. Write file is to write the file on the FTP directory. List file is used to list the files from a particular directory. Move a file to move the file from one place to another of a same FTP actually. Okay. Delete a file to delete the file, and download file is to download the file from FTP to staging location. I will explain this later and how useful it is. So first I want to create a write. I want to write a file on the FTP, so I will use this write file operation. And I will use the ASCII here, the transfer mode. If you are transferring the binary file, okay, which is not the structured one, so you can choose binary. If you have a ASCII, you can choose the ASCII. Now, when you choose the write operation, so the further operations which you see here depends on the operation. If you choose a read file, you will see the totally different options here, right? If you choose a delete a file, you will see the different options altogether. I will explain it one by one. So let's use write a file. When you use the write file operation, you have to give the output directory where you want to provide the output directory. And here you have to provide the actual directory where you want to create the file. Okay, someone was asking where to provide the directory. So here actually you have to provide the exact directory location. Let's say /home OPC, I will say B11. So I am going to write a file on this particular directory under home/OPC. So if this B11 exists, then the file will be created in this directory. Otherwise, first this directory will be created here and then the file will be written. File name pattern, you can provide the file name statically, let's say employee. Or you can provide something like this. EMP underscore then sequence. The sequence is the standard keyword and enclosed within the percentage, which means a file name will be created in the sequence employee underscore 1, employee underscore 2, employee underscore 3, and the extension will be .csv. If you want to create something like this in via the date and time parameter, so you can use YY, MM, DD, HH, MM, SS. So while creating the file, okay, whatever time it will be, then this will be converted into the date and time, and the file of the name will be test underscore year, month, date, hour, minute, and then second. So I am going to create file like this, employee underscore sequence dot csv. Okay, append to existing file. Append to existing file is like if you want to append the data on the same file on the server. If let's suppose you have given the employee.csv and you want to append the data into the same CSV file, so you can use this feature. PGP encryption decryption is to encrypt the file. I will show you this feature later. And sign verify, it is used to signing or unsigning your file. So when you want to leverage this FTP adapter to encrypt the file, then you have to upload the PGP public key in your FTP connection. So this is the one-time activity. Click next. When you click on the next, and here you see schema option. Do you want to specify the structure for the content of the file? So there might be a question in the interview, what kind of files you can create? The structured file, I mean, you can create the CSV file, you can create the XML file using the XML schema or the XML, or you can create the JSON file as well. Whatever type of file you want to create, you have to provide the value here. Let's say I want to create the CSV file. So here you see I have given the extension .csv. So next, and here I have selected the .csv. If you don't want to create any structured file, let's suppose the PDF, the docs file, then you can use the no. I will show you this later. So let's use yes and then CSV. Go to the next. And here you have to upload the sample file in which format you will create your file. So let me just go the text edit and let me just generate a new file here. Okay. I hope you can see my screen, guys, the notepad plus plus, sorry, this edit plus plus.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just format this. Okay, fine. So I am creating a sample file here. Fine. And then I will provide a sample data. Let's say input Magen, let's say 33 MCA, and then a@gmail.com. Okay. So I will say that will be a plain text. Okay, fine. Again, let me just format. Okay, so I have created a sample file here in the form like first name. You can give like something like this. You don't need to provide the exact same which you have given in your JSON. Age, qualification and then email. Right? Now I will save this file here. Let's say sample emp.csv. Okay, so I have created a CSV file here. Now let me just go back and then upload this file. And here you see the file has been uploaded here. And the content is here. The first name, last name, age, qualification, email. Right? Okay. And here this record name and then record set name is basically used in the mapper. So this record name will be like something employee and it will be the employee. I will show you that will become the parent node and that will become the child node. Comma separated. If you want to create comma separated file, then you have to select the comma and then the CSV file which you have uploaded here, make sure it will be comma separated. Then only this table will be populated accordingly. If you want to create a semicolon separated, you have to upload the sample file with semicolon and the table will be populated, and when the file will be created, it will be the colon separated only. So in most of the cases, we use the comma, but you have other options too. The character set as per your requirement, optionally enclosed by. So this feature is very important. Where it is important, let's suppose your last name or the qualification itself contains comma, means the data. Let's say the last name having the Kumar.Jain. Okay. So if you use this double quote, so what will happen if somewhere in the last name comma comes in, so the value will be enclosed within the double quotes. So if you want in the single quotes, you can select the same. Terminated by, each and every file will have the end of line. If you want every file will be ended by /n or /carries written or /n, you can do the same as well. So this option is useful when you want to read the file. Mark all as optional. So here you see all the fields are mandatory. So if you want to make them optional, you can simply select it, but at least one of the fields should be mandatory. Otherwise, you will not be able to move forward. And here you see, please select one or more elements as mandatory. So let's say the first name is mandatory. Okay. So why this option is important? Let's suppose you are trying to create a file and you have selected this last name is also mandatory. But while you are doing the mapping and maybe possible last name is coming blank from one of the application and you have done the mapping, then your integration may get failed. So better to choose all the fields optional and make one as a mandatory. Next, and then done. Save and then reset. Now create a file. Whatever will come from my JSON, I will map in the F request here. Okay, click on edit here. And here you see employees become the parent node. However, employee become your child node, which we have given in the record set name. It will be the parent. Record name will be the child. So here you see this is the repeated element. And here also you see file name and then directory. Whatever file name and directory you have given in your adapter, you can override them to make it dynamic also. So let's suppose the file name and directory you are taking from the lookup, or you have created file name directory in the assign activity, which you can map. So you can override the values which you have given in your adapter, and the priority will be of this mapping. Request wrapper, top level array, and here top level array to employees, because both are repeated element. First name to first name, last name to last name, age to age, qualification to qualification, and then email to email. Simple mapping. Validate and then close. Now, this is the response mapper. So I want to map the response here as well. So every FTP operation is the synchronous operation. And here you see, create a file response. It will send you the response as well. Here you see the status. So it will give you in the response the file name which is created, the directory, and then status. So I will use this status here. You can hard code it as well, but let's say validate and then close. Now my create file operation is completed. Now second, I want to use the read of file. So I will use the same FTP adapter this time. And let's say read file. Next. Because read file I have used, the read file name I have used here as well. So it should be the unique always, right? And I will read a file. You have to give the path. The path is B11. File name, I will take anything because I will map the file name in the mapper, because the file name will come from the rest. Okay. Next, here again, you have to provide the structure of the file, which type of file you want to read. It can be a CSV file. It can be the XML. It can be the JSON. I want to read the CSV file. So choose CSV and then next. Choose the delimited file, which type of file you want to read. I will select the file here. Okay, here also you can say employee and then employees. Right? Next, and then that. The same thing. And here you have to map what? The file name. Here you see file name, and which will come from your read file operation. So this file name, the file name abc.csv, you have given the adapter, which will be overridden with the file name, which will come from your JSON, and then directory will be the same. Close. And here I will map the file response. Read a file response. You see, employees, employee. Read response wrapper, top level array, and then employee to this one. First name, last name, age, qualification, and then email. Validate and then close. So this operation has also been completed. Now you want to delete the file. It is very simple operation. You can say FTP connection again. Delete file, delete a file. Next, and now I will choose delete a file. You have to give the directory path from where you want to delete it. Let's say B11. The file name will come from the JSON, so I can say abc.csv for the time being. Next, and here you don't need to give any other thing. And here I will map the file name only. I will map it. Response wrapper, and this delete a file response. It will send the state success status. Close. Now the third operation, count files. I want to count the files. So here I will say FTP connection again. I'll say list files. So from the listing, I will use the list file operation, which will list all the files from a particular directory. So I will say So similarly, I will say B11. And the file name pattern, it can be all the file. If you say star, then whatever type of file is there, it will be listed. If you want to return only, if you want to list only the CSV file, then it will be the CSV files only. The maximum file 100 second, minimum is 0 second, which means if a file is written before 0 second, then also pick up that file. If you give 5 seconds, which means the file which is updated 5 seconds ago only, then pick up that file. If you provide 1, then the file which is updated 1 second ago will be picked up. List file recursively, which means here you have given the B1. If you have subfolder under B1 and you want to list the file from that subfolder, then use this one. Next, and then finish. Right here, I don't need to configure anything. In the count files, what I need to do, I need to, and here list files, list file response, and it gives the item count. Item count will give you the total number of files which is there in the directory. Validate and then close it. Now all the configuration has been completed. The remaining is 4 errors. So when you create the REST adapter using the multi-verb feature, so you cannot enable the tracking from here. You will see this is an integration with multiple trigger options. So you have to enable the tracking from here. Click on this and then click on this action menu, and then you see the tracking, create a file, count file, read file, delete file. So you have to enable the tracking here operation wise. You can give first name here. Now you see the 3 count files. So in the count file, I don't have anything. So I will use this method only. I will use this read file name, save it. Delete file, and then fine, my integration is completed, and this is the time to test your operations. Now activate this. Now if you open this URL, you will see operation name, create file, the endpoint of it, the resource, the method is post, the request sample, the response sample. Similarly for other operations too. Okay. Now, similarly, you can test it from here. Test. Okay, you can see all the operations here. Let's try to create a file first of all. Okay. And here go to the body, and here you see the sample will come automatically. You have an option to choose a JSON file here as well. But let's say Ankur then okay, so I will have one more. Okay. Fine, let's test it. Here you see status 200. Okay, enter. So let me just open my WinSCP. Hold on. Hold on. Desktop. Yeah, I have FileZilla. Share. Hold on, please. Let me just open the FileZilla first of all. Yeah. Okay, so here let me just go back. Maybe the connection is. I hope you can see my FileZilla, guys.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here you see the B11 folder has been created right away. If you open it, the file should be created here. You see employee1.csv. I don't know if I will be able to open it here, but that's fine. Let me just move it here. File has been transferred. Let me just open it now. Let me know if you can see the file. Do you see the records here? Okay, no.
No, okay.
I will show you. Can you see now? Can you see?
Yes.
But here you see you don't have the headers in the file. I will show you this later how to add the headers in the file. But you see the file has been created. Right? Now let's go back on this screen. Right? Let's test it one more time. Let's say Kapil Kumar 54 DBA Kapil Neha Sharma 32 A Neha. Okay, let's test it again. Here you see the file has been created again. Now let me again open the WinSCP, the FileZilla, and let me just refresh it. Okay, B11. Sorry. Here you see the employee_2.csv file has been created. Let's try to read this file. Let me just go back and let me test another operation. Let me just read a file. Okay, and here you need to pass the file name. So here I'll say employee_2.csv. Only a single record. Okay, got it. Employee1.csv test. The second record I am able to read it. I have done one mistake, but I will show you. And here count files. If you count file, you see the test, the two. Okay, you can delete the file. Let's say employee1.csv. The file should be deleted from the server. That true? Now let me just open the FileZilla again. Let me just refresh it. And here you see the employee_1.csv has been deleted. Now let me just fix that issue which I am facing. Okay, go back. And the issue is I have not mapped the repeated element actually. Yeah. It's there, employees to employ, read a file. Then why it is taking on a single record? Let me just try to test it here and see. Here I see both the records. Okay. It might be the issue in this testing tool. Let me just test this operation from the postman. I see this previous also. But let me just try to read this, use the postman. And here I will use this one, okay? Where is my postman? Here's my postman. Okay, let me just, what is the file name here? Fine. So let me just add the file name here. employee_2.csv. Basic authentication. Fine. Send. It's showing only a single record. Oh, got it. Got it. Do you know why it is showing the single record? I will explain now. So here it is because if you open this, you see the read up file, okay? So here you see use first row as a column header. This is the tick mark, which means the first row will be considered as a header and it will skip the first row and it will not read it. Hence, only the second record is visible. So let me just try it again to write a different file with multiple records, then I will show you. Okay, let me just try. Fine. Okay, test. File has been created. Let me just read a file here and let me see what file name has been created. employee3.csv. Here you see the second to record BB and then CC. And first row has been skipped. It is because the first row I have considered as a header row. Guys, I hope you understand the use case, complete use case, and it is very, very important use case. And you need to practice it as well offline. Any question, anyone? And then in the next session, I will show you how to fix that issue, how to read the first record as well, and other operations of the FTP adapter too. Guys, if you have any question, you can keep asking your question, please.
Good, Tejeshwari. In the real time, the data is huge. So record by record reading will be having an impact on performance. Do we have something like a bulk collect sort of a thing?
Here you see, we are not reading one by one. We are reading in bulk. Actually, we have done the for looping. So the for loop will happen automatically. We are not doing record by record. It will happen automatically via the XSLT. And here you see, we have done the for looping. It is in the bulk itself.
But the file size you said is 10 MB only, right?
Yes, it should be within the 10 MB. But in the next class, we'll show you how to read a file which is more than 10 MB.
Okay.
Yes, Shankar, if you want to archive the file, is it possible from here?
Yes, we can. You can move the file now. Move file operation is there. Once you
Okay.
read the file, you can use the FTP adapter again, and you can move your source file to the target location.
Okay, and then
But
we can delete it.
Huh?
And then we can delete it from the source
Yes, you
location.
can do that too. So,
Okay.
yes, correct. Yes.
Ankur, one request, please send the recordings. Okay, so I
I
didn't
will, for
receive
sure.
the. Okay. Okay, for me, send the 4 days recording. Okay, I will ping you, send you also message.
Sure.
Ankur, one question here, like in this example, like we are using the app-driven orchestration, right? We do have the third option, right? I forgot the third option, FTP something.
So FTP is similar to the scheduled one. When you use this file transfer, you will not be allowed to create the trigger point. It will be by default scheduled one.
Ankur, Vibhuti this side. I have a question. Like, let's say, like we have a integration with a vendor, and they need to share the quotations. You know, like those quotations or quotations should be in a different file formats. So in those cases, you know, like binary files, if we are transferring. So do we have a option like to do that kind of integration?
So you are saying the PDF, document, Excel file? Hello?
Yes, Ankur. Yeah.
That I will show you in the next lecture.
Okay.
Any other question? Okay. If no question, then I will wrap up for the day. And please go through the recording, do practice as much as you can do, because once you will do practice, maybe you will have a lot of questions and you can ask in the next session. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining today's session. We will meet next Saturday, same time, 8 p.m. Thank you. Bye-bye.